Buddha, the epitome of awareness. Be a light unto yourself. Buddha says, be a light on yourself. And that is the greatest message of insight. Or insight. Nobody else in the entire history of human consciousness has been so respectful towards others, towards humanity, as Gautam the Buddha. Be a light unto yourself. Buddha says, be a light unto yourself. It does not matter how small is the light. Once the light is there and you live by your own light, the light will tend to grow. If you live by your own awareness, your own understanding, slowly and slowly, your awareness, your understanding, your light shall tend to grow. The word Buddha will be repeated again and again by Bodhidharma. So you have to understand what does it mean. The word Buddha is not a personal name of anybody. Buddha simply means one who is awakened. And Gautam Buddha is the most famous awakened one. But that does not mean that there is only one awakened one. And that too, Gautam Buddha is the only awakened one. There has been Buddhas before him, and there have been Buddhas after him. And as long as human beings are there, as long as every human being can become a Buddha, new Buddhas will go on springing up in future. Gautam Buddha was the most cultured, most educated, most sophisticated person ever to become a mystic. There is no comparison in the entire history of human consciousness. He could see where the innocent mystics had unknowingly given chances to cunning minds to take advantage. He decided therefore not to use any positive term for the ultimate goal. In order to destroy your ego and the possibility of ego taking any advantage, he called the ultimate reality as nothingness, emptiness, Shunyata. Shunya means zero, or zero. Now how can your ego make zero as a goal, the emptiness as a goal? In order for ego to function, there has to be something of substance like. God can be made the goal but not the zero, not the emptiness, not the nothingness. Whenever new disciples used to come to Gautam the Buddha, he would ask them to just sit by his side silently for 2 years, then something will be possible. Buddha said, only then it may be possible that you can understand whatever I say. First of all, you have to live within my environment, within my energy field. So an understanding dawns on you, a capacity comes onto you, that you will be able to understand the words of the Buddhas. Buddha says, even if you meet me on the way, kill me immediately. By saying this, he is asking the disciples not to follow him, instead understanding him and take the hints. Buddha is not to be followed. And this is what one of the fallacies is. We begin to follow the masters. Instead we try to understand the master take the few notes and continue on our journey. The moment we try to understand their words, we grow into awareness. The light that was flickering the flame begins to grow bigger and bigger. Try to understand, imbibe the Spirit, feel His presence and then go on your way. Live according to your own light. Howsoever small it is, does not matter. When you try to understand, the flame of your being is lit. And when you start living by that flame, by that understanding, you grow in understanding. Live according to your own light. Howsoever small it is, does not matter. However, if the light is yours and you live according to it, it will go on growing. Gautam Buddha had to deny that God existed, not that he was against God. A man like Gautam Buddha cannot be against God. And if Gautam Buddha is against God, then it is of no use for anyone to be in favor of God. His decision is decisive. And not only for one person, but for the entire humanity. He represents our very soul. He is the epitome of consciousness. But he was not against God. He was against your ego. And he was constantly careful not to give your ego any support to remain. If God can become a support, then there is no God. Mahavir and Buddha both insisted on non-violence. The basic reason for fighting is that once you stop fighting, the ego cannot exist. Remember, ego exists only in fight. When your mind is fighting with something, the ego continues to exist. Ego is nourished and nurtured. Ego is the consequence, is the outcome of fight. The more you fight, the more ego exists. If you are alone, living on the earth, nobody is there to fight with, would you have an ego then? You would not have an ego. Buddha emphasized meditation. Meditation is a totally different technique. There is no need to believe, no need to move to the other. You are alone and you have to be awake yourself. Nothing else is needed. Gautam Buddha, the significance of this day, the full moon in the month of May is, on the full moon day, full moon night, Gautam Buddha was born. And then 40 years later, he became enlightened on a full moon night. And he died on a full moon night as well. This cannot be a just coincidence. This has something to do with the synchronicity with the full moon night that Buddha has attained. That the synchronicity that exists between Buddha's birth, his enlightenment and Mahaparinirvana, and the full moon night. The next time you enter the temple of Gautam Buddha, just sit silently, watch the statue. The statue has been made in such a way, in such proportions that if you watch, you will fall silent. It is made as the statue for meditation. It is not concerned with Gautam the Buddha. It is concerned with your meditation. If something, words or presence or a form can take you into the state of meditation, connect you to your being, is important. The story about Gautam Buddha is that when he reached the gates of Nirvana, or what we call the gates of heaven, he stood there with his back facing the gates opened, and the guards wanted him to enter. They were ready to welcome him because centuries pass, and then once in a while those gates open. And they were immensely happy that someone has again become a Buddha, has attained to enlightenment. But Buddha refused to go in. The story is very symbolic. He says, unless every living being passes by me into Nirvana, I am going to stay here. Unless every living being, and he is not talking about human beings alone, every living being, that includes the entire kingdom, the animals, the plants, the men, the women, everyone. Unless every living being passes by me into Nirvana, I am going to stay here. I will be the last one to enter. I cannot go alone. I have to take everyone with me. They are struggling in pain and misery. And do you think I should enjoy Nirvana as a tremendous blissfulness? They are struggling in pain and misery. And do you think I should enjoy Nirvana and its tremendous blissfulness? It is not possible. I will wait. You can wait, but waiting here I will try to help those struggling souls, stumbling and groping in darkness. Unless I am satisfied that everyone has passed in, I will not come in and close the doors. Buddha is certainly one of the most insightful men. He does not stop at himself. Anybody would have stopped there. It is a natural tendency to put oneself at the highest point and then stop. We do not care for others. In India, I have visited many places, the places that are of Buddhist significance. The place where Gautam Buddha became enlightened is called Bodh Gaya. It is a very small town. It is a small temple. Some followers made the temple as a memorial by the side of the tree where Buddha became enlightened. That tree still remembers something. And in reality, Bodhi tree has a certain substance which no other tree has. And that is the substance which makes a person genius. That is why it is called Bodhi tree. Bodhi means the awareness, the genius, the intelligence. Only genius have that substance in that mind. And in the world of trees, only Bodhi tree has that substance. Perhaps it is more perspective and receptive. It has a certain genius. A Buddha asleep is such a beautiful phenomenon. He looks like a small child, innocent, with no burden of the day. To look at Buddha while he is asleep is very beautiful. So Anand used to watch him. Buddha would go to sleep and Anand would sit and look at him. He was such a silent pool of being. Nothing was incomplete. Everything and every moment was complete and perfect. There was no dream or any trace left behind in him. His mind was a crystal clear mirror. The streams of consciousness was never muddled. It was crystal clear. Gautama the Buddha is the highest breakthrough in the humanity has known. Gautama the Buddha is the highest breakthrough that humanity has known up to now. And time should be divided by the name, not by the name of Jesus Christ, but it should be divided by the name of Gautama the Buddha. We should divide history before Buddha and after Buddha, not before Christ and after Christ, because Christ is not a breakthrough. He is continuity. Jesus represents the past in its tremendous beauty and grandeur. He is the very essence of all search of the man before him. He is the fragrance of all the past endeavors of man to know God, but he is not a breakthrough. In the real sense of the word, he is not a rebel. Buddha is a rebel. He is a breakthrough. But Jesus looks more rebellious than Buddha for the simple reason that Jesus' rebellion is visible and Buddha's rebellion is invisible. Buddha will not say anything to you or say a very simple thing, but you will be forced to act accordingly. You will need great insights to understand that Buddha has contributed to humanity, contributed to human consciousness, its evolution and human growth. Man would not have been the same if there had been no Buddha. Man would have been same if there had been no Christ, no Krishna, and there would have been no difference at all. Remove Buddha and something of tremendous importance is lost, but his rebellion is very subtle. Before Buddha, the religious search was fundamentally a concern with God, a God who is outside, a God who is somewhere above in the heavens. The religious search was also concerned with an object of desire as much as the worldly ones search for their own desires. A worldly man sought money, power, prestige, and the other worldly man was seeking God, heaven, eternity, and truth. But one thing was common. Both were looking outside themselves, and both were extroverts. Both were searching. Remember this word, because this is going to help you to understand Buddha. Before Buddha, the religious search was not concerned with the within, but without alone. Everything that man was searching as religious or mundane was outside, be it money, power, prestige, or God, heaven, eternity, truth. The search was outward. All search was extrovert, and when religious search is extrovert, it is not really religious. Religion begins with the introversion. When you start diving deep within yourself, then really the search of the religion begins. Religion is the search of the inner treasures. Religion is the search for that flame which once, when lit, continues to grow and guide your steps in the moments of despair and misery. Whatever change takes place, it has to take place deep within you.